one of several Premier League stars involved in the filming of a prestigious worldwide advertising campaign for a leading sportswear manufacturer. Some of the world's greatest footballers take on the devil in a footballing head-to-head. West Ham United's Czech goalkeeper Ludek Miklosko has signed a 2-year extension to his contract. The Upton Park favourite will be pleased with the deal, as he now looks unlikely to play for his country in this summer's European Championships. The long-running feud between Chelsea's chairman, Ken Bates, and major shareholder Matthew Harding now looks to have been resolved. The two have been at loggerheads in the past, but have now come to an amicable agreement about the future of the club. Mr. Harding has been appointed vice-chairman. Still at Stamford Bridge, Chelsea have announced this week that they're to be floated on the stock market. Chelsea's faithful supporters will now be able to buy a stake in the club following successful flotations at Manchester United and Tottenham. As the season draws to its close, Blackburn Rovers' Alan Shearer remains the Premier League's leading scorer with 28 so far. Shearer, who was also the most prolific marksman in the last campaign, is being closely pursued by his England understudies Robbie Fowler and Les Ferdinand. And finally, Leeds United's Thomas Brolin had an April Fool's joke backfire on him. On Swedish television, he joked he was leaving Leeds for his first club, Norrköping. Manager Howard Wilkinson was less than amused. Well, now on to Main Road for the 124th league meeting of the two Manchester giants, City and United. The traditional rivalry has an even sharper edge today, with United favourites for the title and City trying to avoid relegation. City indeed had a keen eye on Southampton's visit to Leeds earlier in the week. The Saints themselves deep in trouble. Southampton improved generally on their woeful showing at QPR last weekend, but their finishing was still wasteful. Paul Tisdale, the culprit on this occasion. Leeds brought on Brian Deane in the second half, and his contribution 18 minutes from time proved decisive. David Wetherall nudging on Gary McAllister's corner for Deane to claim his 9th goal of the season. A moment of light relief then, as one of the sprinklers got out of control. A soaking for anyone in the near vicinity. An unusual problem certainly for the ground staff to have to contend with. Leeds had to contend then with a late scare, an error from John Lukic, presenting Krista Warren with a golden opportunity, but he couldn't take advantage. The winner was Leeds' first goal in 7 matches, and enough to overcome a Southampton team whose Premier League status is now hanging in the balance. Certainly they're very anxious about their future as they hover just above the drop zone, a point better off than Queen's Park Rangers, but 3 behind Manchester City. For City, a win today against United would go a long way to making them safe, but they haven't beaten their neighbours since 1989, and of course, United are a step nearer the title after Newcastle's defeat at Liverpool. What a time then for a derby, and what an occasion to make your Premier League debut. Mikhail Kavalashvili, City's latest Georgian recruit, starts after being an unused substitute at Bolton a week ago. He replaces the suspended Steve Lomas, while City are forced to make one further change from the side which drew at Bolton. In comes Michael Fronsek for the injured Scott Hiley. United captain Steve Bruce has made a quick recovery after missing the FA Cup semi-final win over Chelsea. David Beckham, who scored the winner, keeps his place. Lee Sharp and David May drop out. Extended highlights now with match commentator Martin Tyler.
But Keane's pull to the back post. It won't go that deep. Irwin. Here is Roy Keane, reversing it for Irwin. Oh, he's brought down, penalty. Nicky Somerville on Dennis Irwin. In the 7th minute, a penalty for Manchester United. Clearly inside the area, and clearly a trip. And of course, if it's a penalty, it means Cantona against Immel. And there is Eric Cantona again. Absolutely spot on. The Frenchman faultless from the penalty spot. Kinkladze, he's got a free kick this time. Well, he's got the ability and the self-belief to unhinge even the very best. And although Manchester United had 3 around him then, they've conceded the free kick. Looking for Quinn. Well, he beat Bruce, but not Schmeichel. The aim was true from Clough, but Quinn's header went straight at the goalkeeper. Brown. It's passed back, but Keane was there to help. They can just knock it forward here into acres of space that Beckham can fill with the ball. He's got three keeping pace with him. He's got Eric Cantona closing in. Oh. Well, it is a big surprise when he misses out. And in a way, it justifies the rather sparring tactics that City have shown even since going behind, because when they do get caught overcommitting, the spaces are there for Manchester United to exploit. And Alan Ball's team were let off the hook by, of all people, Eric Cantona. Quinn! It's 1-1. My goodness, what a story. Kavalashvili on his debut in a Manchester derby from Niall Quinn's knockdown. Quinn, this time teeing up a teammate, and it nestles in Schmeichel's net for the newcomer, Mikhail Kavalashvili from Manchester City. And it's rare enough a goal in a league derby for City, but it's come at a great time for them. Unless, of course, they're punished straight away here by Cole! They are punished. Amazing response from Manchester United. A little more than a minute later. Well, this shows what they can do when they want to attack. And Cantona, of course, at the heart of it. Manchester City, who were relegated twice in the 80s, knowing enough about life down at the bottom. But until it's mathematically proven that they are safe, only then will they relax. Kavalashvili's got another chance here. Brilliant stop by Schmeichel. Well, Schmeichel had to deal with a shot of some velocity from the scorer of Manchester City's first half goal, Phil Neville. Quinn's got it from here. Now Clough, and City can counter-attack. Over Bruce for Rosler. Bruce backs off. Rosler goes for goal! A sensational strike by the Manchester City substitute, Rosler, who's had some criticism recently, and replies in the grand manner. Bruce had all sorts of problems, and he couldn't stop the shot being released, and Schmeichel had no chance in preventing its path as it sped beyond him into the far corner. 2-2. Beckham. It's a difficult ball to try and pick out Giggs, but how about that for execution? It's got Manchester City backpedaling and changing direction. Cantona for Irwin. Oh, and he wanted it back for Cantona again, and Cantona was rather expecting Irwin to go on and finish the job himself. But now Cantona's on the ball. For Giggs. Curl's playing him onside. Ryan Giggs! Unbelievable! And Manchester United are in front again. Well, Giggs smashed it, and it zipped
United's third goal scored
into the top
Ryan
corner.
Giggs.
And Immel can only wonder. And Manchester City, well, their heads, certainly the heads of their supporters, droop again. Sharp. Plus tackle, and his pass, and there's no offside. Rosler, Gary Neville trying to get there. Schmeichel saves, and Neville stops Rosler following it up. And this giant of a goalkeeper makes yet another important contribution to Manchester United's championship bid. Now Clark. He's got Brightwell to the right. Manchester United a bit short in that sector. Brightwell's cross. And that was Keith Curle. And that was close. Too close for Manchester United's comfort. Good ball back across from Brightwell over David May. And Curle glancing it. Yes, Alex Ferguson wants it as far away from Schmeichel's goal as possible. No playing through midfield here. Stick it into the corner. Well, it's where Beckham will make a challenge. 3 more points towards their title ambitions. Manchester United will be very pleased to have won here on Easter Saturday by 3 goals to 2.
We'll carry on as we are, was the defiant message from Kevin Keegan to those questioning the cavalier nature of Newcastle's championship challenge. Next up at St James's Park were Queen's Park Rangers, whose manager Ray Wilkins chose himself for a match vital to his team's struggle at the other end of the table. For much of the first half, Rangers were the less anxious side, but Newcastle, with only 1 league defeat at home this season, were always a threat. This was Les Ferdinand striving for a goal against the club that sold him for £6 million last summer. Newcastle conjured up the usual series of chances. Ferdinand again went close. This time, Rufus Brevitt had to clear off the goal line. But then the home fans were silenced on 54 minutes. Rangers ahead through Ian Holloway. His first goal of the season, collected after Andy Impey's centre had been diverted into his path off David Batty. Newcastle strove manfully to equalise, but it seemed they were destined to fail until suddenly their championship hopes were alive again with just 12 minutes to go. A goal from Peter Beardsley. St James's Park exploded with relief. The turning point at last, and 3 minutes later, Beardsley struck again. A fabulous goal from the 35-year-old, reminding us how little the passing years have dimmed his talent. Even the substitutes joined in a spontaneous party. 2-1 the final score. Kevin Keegan's title charge is back on course. Coventry were hoping desperately that Liverpool wouldn't aspire to the same heights as Wednesday, and early on Ron Atkinson's team set about their task in positive fashion. Coventry ahead on 18 minutes through Noel Whelan, the goal set up by the pace and quality of service from Peter Unlau. Coventry may have one of the leakiest defences in the Premier, but going forward they have plenty of enterprise. Their captain Dion Dublin should really have scored from this opportunity. Liverpool, for all their territorial advantage, were restricted in the main to long-range shooting, but so nearly saved a point in the dying seconds. Steve Ogrizovic keeping out this effort from Robbie Fowler. Three successive away wins have revived Bolton's prospects of survival, but they were outclassed by Everton at Goodison Park as the home side looked to step up their European challenge. Joe Royle's team ahead on 21 minutes through Mark Hottiger, his first for the club. Everton's lead was never seriously threatened by Bolton, and they finally made sure of victory 5 minutes from time. Andrei Kanchelskis with the second goal. Everton relaxed at last, and deep into injury time, Daniel Amokachi scored a third to leave Bolton in dire trouble at the foot of the table. Only Arsenal this season have prevented Everton from scoring in a Premier League game at Goodison Park. Southampton know all about this fellow. England striker Alan Shearer, of course, spent his early days at the Dell before his expensive transfer and continued success at Blackburn Rovers. A familiar figure was also back in Southampton's goal. Bruce Grobbelaar was called up to replace Dave Besant. Blackburn was seeking only a third away win, and they nearly led through another former Southampton man, Jeff Kenner. His shot struck the post. Shearer amazingly pulled the rebound wide. Southampton attacked enthusiastically throughout, creating plenty of chances, and at last were rewarded with just 10 minutes to go. A penalty given for Chris Coleman's target Neil Shipley. Matt Le Tissier scored comfortably from the spot, The most valuable of goals was his first in the Premier League for 5 months. Wins over Everton and Nottingham Forest had greatly eased Wimbledon's relegation fears, but they aren't quite safe yet, and they were soon struggling in the All-London derby at Upton Park. West Ham ahead through Julian Dix on 7 minutes. He's now into double figures for the season. Vinnie Jones had recklessly conceded the corner that led to the goal, but he soon redeemed himself, driving a Mark Reaper clearance past Ludek McCloskey for the equaliser, albeit aided by a deflection. West Ham have been generally irresistible at home this year, and they were constantly threatening. Ian Bishop denied a goal by the fingertips of goalkeeper Neil Sullivan. No more goals. Wimbledon should stay up now after depriving the home side of a 6th win in 7 at Upton Park. Middlesbrough had still to win at home in 1996, and they didn't display too much conviction in the first 45 minutes. But 2 goals in a minute early in the second brought the match to life. First for the home side, Jan Piotr with his first in 8 games after a shot from Juninho had been saved by Kevin Pressman. But Borough had little time to enjoy their lead before it was erased. Gary Waugh surely would have kept out the shot from Mark Pembridge, but it was cruelly diverted past him off the boot of defender Derek White. It was a much livelier game from there on, and Borough's safety for the season was as good as secured on 67 minutes with another splendid goal from Norwegian international Jan Piotr. A moment then for Borough debutant Chris Freestone to savour 5 minutes later. He was the man to profit from a near-post flick-on from a Juninho corner. Middlesbrough the winners by 3 goals to 1. Fighting on for a European spot remains Arsenal's goal for the season, and although they produced generally a lacklustre first-half display against Leeds, they went ahead towards the break. Dennis Bergkamp shot too hot for John Lukic to hold on to. Although he saved John Hartson's follow-up, Ian Wright was on hand to steer in his 21st goal of the season. Leeds, though, to their credit, refused to be flustered and responded with a goal on 53 minutes. Welsh international Gary Speed's shot ricocheting in off Brian Deane. Arsenal finally woke up again in the last quarter of an hour, and they sneaked a win in the closing seconds. Leeds thought they'd done enough to earn a point, but were left shattered by Wright's second of the game after good work from Paul Merson and David Platt. Arsenal the winners by 2 goals to 1. Spurs and Forest have already met 3 times this season. Mark Crossley was the prized hero in the FA Cup with 3 saves in the penalty shootout that took Forest through. Forest were now seeking a 3rd win over Spurs. Although it was the away side who looked more likely scorers early on, it was Frank Clark's team who scored first. Steve Stone finishing off a slick counter-attack launched by Stuart Pearce towards the break. Ian Woan scored 2 memorable goals against Spurs when they met in the first FA Cup encounter at the City Ground, and he punished them again with Forest's second just after the hour. Crossley was again in defiant mood throughout as Spurs endeavoured to fight back. He was finally beaten, though, by Chris Armstrong's header from a Teddy Sheringham cross. Too late to save Spurs, a 2-1 loss that will certainly hamper their European prospects, but enhance those of Forest. This was a meeting of the beaten FA Cup semi-finalists, and it was Chelsea who were off to an impressive start. Only 6 minutes gone when John Spencer dispatched his shot past Mark Bosnich. It should have been 2 on 27 minutes. Chelsea awarded a penalty when Spencer was tripped by Paul McGrath. But Bosnich outwitted Dennis Wise for the Chelsea captain's 2nd penalty miss in a row. He also squandered a spot kick in the FA Cup replay against Wimbledon. Villa's reprieve served to inspire them, and they were level 6 minutes from half-time when Alan Wright's shot was deflected into the path of Savo Milosevic. Villa were the better side in the second half and deservedly went on to win. After a mistake by Craig Burley on the hour, Dwight Yorke was left with the task of scoring his 24th of the season. Villa the winners by 2 goals to 1. So another weekend of high drama in the Premier League. The three title contenders were all involved with matches against struggling sides, but only two came out on top. Manchester United in the derby at Main Road and Newcastle over QPR. Liverpool's challenge faltered on Coventry's bumpy surface at Highfield Road. The race for survival looks set now for a nail-biting finish too. Bolton are back on the bottom after defeat at Everton, and Coventry are now above QPR, with Manchester City having dropped further into trouble. Sheffield Wednesday's defeat means they can't relax yet. At the top, Manchester United are still then only 3 points clear, thanks to Newcastle's late recovery against QPR, and Kevin Keegan's team have a game in hand. But only a major failing by both these two can surely let in Liverpool now. Defeat at Coventry has left them 8 points adrift of United, with just 5 left to play. The entrancing memory of Liverpool's classic confrontation with Newcastle on that emotional night at Anfield in midweek will linger for many a season. It may have been kamikaze football to Liverpool manager Roy Evans, but football fans all over the country were left totally enthralled by a game that, for sheer entertainment value, ranks as one of the greatest ever staged.